Hello and welcome to the Palmer Performance Workshop. Sorry I've been away for so long, guys. Actually feels a bit weird getting back in front of the camera again. It's been that long since I've done it. Obviously last project was the Fireblade build, which was back in January. That's been out and racing in Spain since then, doing really well in the ESBK stock class. But workshop wise, it's been really busy. And as you guys know, it is just me in here. So trying to structure work around making videos and stuff is actually really hard. And does take up a lot of time. And also a lot of the work that I've had in over the winter, I haven't really felt was worth the time and effort putting it on YouTube, which is possibly the wrong thing to say, because I'm sure a lot of you would be interested in all the stuff I do. But a lot of the work over winter just felt like normal sort of routine work that you've probably already seen before on the channel. There's already videos on that sort of stuff. So, and that alongside being busy just meant that I just didn't really get around to filming anything over the past few months. But this is Sunday, the 27th of February. It is April, 27th of April. It is my last Sunday at home for about the next 6 weeks. I am fully committed to British Superbikes this year and doing the Northwest 200 and the Isle of Man TT. We'll talk about both those in a bit more detail in a minute. So that means like April, May, June time is just mental with race meetings and testing and stuff like that. So I thought I'll try and get a quick little update video out to you lot. Just keep the channel ticking over really. And then once we've had a little sort of, whilst I've rambled on a little bit about what I've been up to and what I've been doing and the sort of racing year ahead, I'll do a little montage at the end of some of the bikes that have been in and out of the workshop and talk a little bit about what we've had through and what we've been doing. I've even made some notes because I was trying to think what to talk about. Well, yeah, so racing last year, there was a few videos I did last year from the Northwest 200 and the TT. I was also meant to be in the British paddock for most of last year, but for various reasons I won't go into, I didn't actually remain with that team for the whole year. I just sort of went and did testing with them and then cracked on and did the road stuff. But this year I really wanted to get back to being in British Superbikes and preferably at the top level, at Superbike level. The last year I worked at Superbike level was in 2019 with the RAF team, which is now the Lee Hardy Racing Platinum Club team, who I work with on the roads. But yeah, the last year at Superbike level was as Ryan Vickers' crew chief in his rookie year in Superbike. And that was obviously quite an interesting year. It was lots of ups and lots of downs. Ryan showed incredible pace, but also crashed a fair bit as well. But you know, it's been great. I'm still in touch with Ryan now, and it's been great watching him progress. And obviously now he's in his first year of World Superbikes, which is fantastic to see him riding in that paddock. So yeah, I kind of wanted to get back there. So at the end of last year, Brands Hatch final BSB round, I went down to that. Just mainly to go and have a wander about, catch up with some familiar faces in the paddock and kind of, you know, make it known that I was looking for a job for 2025. It's always very much word of mouth getting jobs in the British Superbike series. They don't tend to get advertised. People hear you're available, or riders that you've worked with in the past want you to bring into a new team, or you know, things along those lines. So you kind of have to have your face there to kind of find a job. So Brands last round, went down on the Friday, had a wander about, went and caught up with a load of friends and people, and went and said hello to a few teams who I thought, you know, potentially there might be a job opportunity there. Just made it known I was looking for a job. So anyway, skip forward a little bit. Over the sort of winter period, I had a couple of sniffs of jobs in British Supersport, which, you know, as a crew chief role, which both sounded quite interesting, but, you know, it wasn't really what I was looking for. Kind of wanted a Superbike job, but also wanted it to be with a team that I kind of respected and were well established, and with a rider who maybe was either new to the series or showed some promise, or, you know, just a bit of an exciting project, something a bit different something new. So one of the interesting bits of news that came out over winter was that John McPhee, the Scottish former Moto 3 and Moto 2 rider, and in the past couple of years World Supersport as well, was that he had signed for Hawk Racing. And those of you who follow British Superbikes closely may know the name Hawk Racing. It's a team that's been established for the British paddock, I think, for over 25 years now. It was originally set up by Stuart Hicken, and it's now run by his son Steve. And I've kind of known Steve for years when I've worked in Superbikes before, and we've been in adjacent garages and stuff like that. And actually, one of my old friends who I worked with in the RAF team, a guy who's known in the paddock as Technic, who is a good laugh. He's a very hardworking guy and a bit of a weapon. He actually works for that team, for the Hawk Racing team. He worked for them last year. So in a roundabout way, it kind of came out that Hawk were looking for a crew chief for John. So I thought, well, I'll throw my hat in the ring. So I pinged Steve an email and said, look, this is me, you know me, this is what I'm looking for. If it's of any interest to you, give me a shout. And basically he did. He emailed me back and said, yeah, keen to do something. And then earlier this year, I jumped in my car, drove up to Mallory Park, where the team is actually based. The Hicken family actually run Mallory Park, so that's pretty cool. The team kind of have their own race circuit in a way. So yeah, I drove up there, spent a couple of hours with Steve, just chatting over stuff and having a look at the bikes. And basically did the deal. So that is me for the 2025 British Superbike season. I am John McPhee's crew chief. And we've already been out and done some testing in Spain and the UK testing. And next weekend is the first round at Alton Park. So pretty exciting stuff on that front. So we'll cover the ins and outs of UK and Spanish testing with the Hawk team, or the Mastermac Hawk Racing team, Mastermac being their primary sponsor this year, in a minute. But we'll just hit on the road side of things. So last year was my first year going back to the Northwest 200 and the TT since 2019. So I returned there again with Lee Hardy and his Platinum Club Racing team, with Davo Johnson as the rider. That deal was renewed for this year, so I'm off again to the Northwest 200 and the TT with Davo and Lee and the guys. So same bikes, same everything. So we should be in a much better place this year. Hopefully have a really strong Northwest and TT. Really looking forward to that. It just obviously means we're doing British Superbike as well. My schedule is just nuts. But yeah, so we finished racing on Bank Holiday Monday at Alton Park BSB Round 1. And then I drive to Liverpool Airport, get on a plane, fly over to Belfast, and then kick off the road race season with the Platinum Club Racing team. So looking forward to that. Hopefully the weather will be kind to us over there, famous last words. And then I get back from that, have a few days at home and in the workshop, and then straight off to Donington BSB Round 2 with the Hawk Racing team again, with Mastermac Racing. So yeah, a bit hectic. Workshop wise, there's been lots of stuff in and out. Workshop has been pretty busy. And then throw in amongst that some of the testing that I've been doing with the Hawk team. It's been pretty crazy. So with Hawk, we went out and did sort of 4 days on track in Spain. I'd never met John before, so that was the first time that I'd met him, and obviously kind of really met the rest of the team and worked with the bikes. So it was all new. Like, I've never worked with the new Honda, which is what they're running, 24-25 Honda Fireblades in Superbike before. So there's all this new stuff to learn, like the bike, the type, the way it likes to be set up, the electronics package and how they use that and apply that. And then obviously learning John and the way he works and the way he likes a bike. So it's always, and it will be throughout the year, it will be a constant learning curve of adjusting and stuff. And I've had a few years away from it, so it's taken me a little bit of time to get going and get a bit braver with making changes and stuff like that. But Steve, he crew chiefs the other bike in the team, which Charlie Nesbitt is racing. Charlie's been part of the team for a good few years now. can't remember. I think it might be his 3rd year on Superbike now, so he's fairly well established. But there's a good camaraderie in the team. Everybody's kind of working together to produce the best package we can for the riders. It's great having someone like Steve with his experience to bounce off ideas and stuff like that. So really looking forward to seeing how the year pans out. Testing went really well, to be honest. Obviously, we were in Spain on European tracks, which John's more used to racing on. He last raced in the UK in 2010. So that's 15 years ago. The past 15 years, he's been racing, obviously in Moto3, Moto2, and then World Supersport, where the tracks are kind of quite different to UK tracks. The only exception being Donington, which he raced the past 2 years with World Supersport. So, so the first track we went to was Alcaraz, which is in kind of northern Spain. It's a track I haven't been to for quite a few years. I think 2013 was the last time I went there, so 12 years ago. Really, really nice little track, great facility, and some aspects of it are similar to UK tracks, so that was kind of good from that point of view. Just had a really good solid 2 days, really. A bit of a shakedown for the riders and that before we then moved on to Navarra to the BSB official test. I think John actually ended up slightly faster than Charlie at that one. Possibly because he had done a sort of practice track day a week or two before on a sort of super stock spec bike, just to get his head around the circuit before we went there with the full superbikes. So again, that was really busy when we were out there. There was lots of things we were trying and testing, and testing is always quite hectic, especially the 2 days at Alcaraz, because it was like a session track day. So there was 3 20-minute sessions in every hour, like 3 different groups. So we would go out at say 1 o'clock, and then our next session would be 2 o'clock, and you only have sort of 40 minutes in between to decide what changes you're going to make to the bike or fix any issues, and then you're straight back out again. So it's very like go, go, go. And you don't feel like you get a rest. Quite tiring, really, mentally and physically, especially with the travel as well. So we got those days done at Alcaraz, and then we moved on to Navarra to the official BSB test, which again was hectic because that was actually run as an open pit lane. So you can basically just go out and ride whenever you want, which then kind of makes you feel pressured to be on track as much as possible. So, when the rider comes in from doing a run of laps, you're downloading the data out of it, talking to the rider, trying to decide what changes you're going to make, and then affecting those changes and then sending them out again. So it always feels a bit urgent when actually it's you try and sort of relax into it, but it never works out like that. So, but Navarra went really well as well. I mean, as that was an official test, there was official timing. There was a lot of the other teams there. The only teams that were missing were FS3 with Christian Idden and Max Cook. And then obviously there was the whole debacle with the OMG team kind of pulling the plug before that test. So Kyle Ride wasn't there, and neither was Bradley Ray. I think they were the only 4 missing. But again, John rode really well at that test, as did Charlie. I think we ended the test with John 4th overall, and Charlie was 7th overall. Again, good positive test. Sort of found a bit of a direction to go in with the bike for John, and felt like we left there fairly strong. I mean, being as John's never ridden 1000cc superbikes before, to leave an official test, even though it had sort of 4 people missing, but to leave like finishing P4 overall was pretty impressive. We were kind of fairly amazed with that, to be honest. So came back from there, and I was straight back in my workshop, flat out with stuff here, and then we kind of had, it was about a week or 2, and then it was off for the official UK tests, which was 2 days at Donington Park, and then 2 days at Alton Park, which were only last week. So Donington Park was kind of a bit typical of a Donington Park BSB test. The weather was a bit on and off, a bit sketchy. It wasn't open pit lane, so there were lots of other classes there, not just BSB. They had like the F900s, the small bikes, Super Sport, Super Stock and whatnot. So it was kind of only 40-minute sessions. So we didn't really want to do any riding in the wet and the cold unless we absolutely had to, which is not really necessary at that point of testing, especially as we're not racing at Donington until round 2. So we did a fair few laps. I think we did 76 laps over 2 days in total. kind of got a little bit lost on the setup side of things and got a little bit carried away with the electronic side of things. So kind of came away from there not feeling like we were in a particularly great place. Results wise, I think we were, yeah, not great. But it is testing. The whole point of testing is that you go, you try things, you find out what does work and what doesn't work. And if you try a load of things and none of them do work, then your overall test position is not going to look very good. But ultimately, it all comes down to where you're at when you go racing. That matters. So in some ways, it's good to have a bad test because you know where you're going wrong and things that you don't want to do in future. And then you can concentrate on the things that have worked and kind of keep progressing in that direction. So we did that test and had another week or so off, back in the workshop, flat out here again. And then headed off to Alton Park. Now, Alton Park, as a lot of you will probably know, is like a roller coaster ride. Lots of changes of elevation, lots of camber changes, very, very technical circuit. Compared to a lot of the European circuits and stuff. So we always knew like the first round there and the first test there for John was going to be an important one for him to, get back into the swing of things. So, and try and sort of pick his way around Alton Park. We had a bit of a reset with electronics and chassis and stuff like that. First day kind of didn't go as well as I hoped it would. I kind of felt a little bit lost, or not lost maybe, but kind of got to a point with the bike where I wasn't sure or wasn't confident enough to pick a direction to go in with it. And that's the great thing about having someone like Steve and as the team manager, if you like, but also the crew chief on the other side of the garage, because that's when he, with his knowledge of the Fireblade and what he's done with it over the past few years, can point me in a direction and give me the confidence to sort of pursue an avenue. So Sunday we made some more changes, and they were basically positive. So we found John was struggling with a feeling that he was getting from the front end. The changes we made improved that feeling. He improved lap time as a result. I mean, he improved lap time over the course of the 2 days anyway, which is always what you're looking for in a test. You're looking for improvement. You want to be moving forward all the time. And we left the test in a pretty good place. Pretty happy with how we left it. Have come up with a direction of where to go for FP1 at the first round when we get there next weekend. And hopefully as the weekend progresses, we'll just keep chipping away step by step, find little bits of time as John spends more time riding with all the other guys and seeing the right lines to take and stuff like that. That's another difficult thing with testing, because obviously in the sessions, you might go out on an old set of tyres testing some aspect of your bike or chassis, and then other riders might go out on a brand new set of tyres. So sometimes, you're all doing things at different times. So sometimes it can be quite tricky to kind of be able to follow somebody and see what lines they're taking and try and get a better understanding of the track and the way to ride it on a superbike. So, but when we get to the first round, obviously we're limited with what we can do with tyres. When we roll out for FP1, everybody will be on a brand new set of tyres that they have to use for that whole session with the way the tyre allocation works. So you've got more opportunity then to follow some more people around, have a look how other people are riding the track. So it's going to be really interesting. And I've kind of said, to myself and to John that, if we can come away from the first round scoring points, considering how strong British Superbikes is as a domestic championship, then, I think we've got to be pretty proud of that, and then just look to progress as the year goes on, really. And then hopefully, throw in a few surprises as we get along the way. But yeah, really good, really pleased to be part of that team. And looking forward to that challenge ahead. That kind of covers it from the racing point of view, really. I know last year I did the videos at the Northwest and the TT. I know a lot of you would like video content from British Superbike rounds, but in all honesty, it detracts away from the job too much. And I am there to do a job. I am there being paid to do a job, and I have to focus on that job. I can't detract away from that by sort of trying to set up video opportunities and record stuff. Doesn't mean to say I won't. I might get odd bits of video and pictures and stuff, and do the odd sort of mashup of footage and voiceover and such like to cover things that have happened. But I can't commit to doing it, you know, every round and stuff like that. So a little bit the same with the Isle of Man and with the Isle of Man TT in the Northwest. Again, they're very hectic places to work. We're quite a small, tight crew for those events this year. So I will take my cameras with me and I will do bits of filming if I can. But also, it's a lot of effort doing that, and those videos never seem to get a lot of views because everybody's doing vlogs and stuff from the Northwest and the TT when we go there. So your own stuff just kind of gets lost in amongst it. But the plan workshop wise, hopefully I've got work booked in between all these various events. I've got some new bike builds and stuff coming in, but they're bike builds you've seen before, new Fireblade builds and stuff like that. So it'll just be the usual really. When something interesting comes in, something that's broken, something you guys haven't seen before, I'll aim to do a video on it, and you know, keep the channel rolling that way. I really want to do another project bike, but obviously until the TT's out of the way, that side of things has to kind of go on the back burner. Project bike wise, I've always had a hankering to build a turbocharged supermoto. So what I've got in my head is a KTM 690 SMCR, and then I put a small turbo off like a snowmobile or something on it, with the aim to make like a 100 horsepower turbocharged supermoto, which I think would be a lot of fun. So that's always sort of wearing away in the back of my mind, and have a few Facebook searches set up for spares or repairs supermotos, because I do like hooning around on supermotos. They're good fun. So that's about enough of me blathering on about the racing side of things. Hope you found that interesting, or at least it's helped you to have a little nap, one or the other. I'll now do a little montage and some voiceover of some of the jobs that have been in and out of the workshop, and we'll finish off there. Early morning Spain flights are never fun. 2 a.m. start that day, heading out to Spain to meet John's bike for the first time, the bike I'll be running this year. Nice little touch on the carbon cooling brake ducts, little Scottish flag on there. Back on the plane home, ready for the UK tests. Workshop wise, actually had one of the new Triumph 250 motocross bikes in for a piston change, one of my regular customers. I don't do motocross stuff as a rule, but for some of my long-standing customers I do. Pretty trick little bit of kit, a nice coating on top of the new piston. Had a GSX-R in for a full Yoshi exhaust system and a few other bits and pieces. An older sort of ex-Supersport R6 in for odds and ends. Another ZX6 Supersport engine build with a 636 crank and stuff. Fireblade in for exhaust system with various other tweaks and pieces. R1 in for GYTR ECU and loom fitting and various other jobs. I've just got a ZX10 in that's had a bit of a crash. As you can see here, the yokes were bent, so they were sent off to Motorline to be straightened. Got finished assembling that. And yesterday was spent at the Lee Hardy workshop doing some prep on the Superbike for the Northwest 200. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.